Happy Friday. How are you? I decided today to do more of a casual Friday outfit because I was taking care of my little grandchild. And so, welcome to all of you who are joining me. We are doing, this is another one of our lives in English now that we're bilingual. And I wanted to talk to you. Well, first of all, let me give you a little introduction. My name is Natalie Ferro, and I am a family law attorney. I had a relationship with an integrated psychopath for about 10 years or so. And my mission has become precisely to educate others about what it is to live with an integrated psychopath or a malignant narcissist, depending on who you're living with. And so anyway, to that effect, I co-founded the Genesis Project along with one of my best friends, Gloria Osuna from Colombia, who was going to be his next victim. And before I contacted her and told her, what she was going to be facing if she decided to pursue her relationship with him. But anyway, hello, thank you for joining us. So today I want to give you a little, I mean this to be a primer because we don't have a lot of material in English as far as lives regarding what an integrated or a covert psychopath is. And so I wanted to give you a little primer of what it is. I think I'm going to put this on YouTube on a playlist so that it's all together in one area for all of our viewers. And so what I'm going to do today, because we have this in Spanish, but I'm going to do it in English, and it's really hard to condense into 1 hour, okay, the essence of what it means to go through a relationship like this, especially to go through a relationship like this for any amount of time, but especially long periods. But I will try to do my best, at least in giving you a little taste of what it is. I have to start by telling you that I, as an attorney, I've been practicing for 13 years in the state of California, licensed to practice here, and I had a lot of training in domestic violence. My specialty precisely is relationships in domestic violence. I work with several DV organizations in the Bay Area, and most of my clients are victims of domestic violence. So I absolutely knew from the moment, even before I married him, that this was an abusive relationship, a relationship in which I was experiencing domestic violence. Not all domestic violence is the person hitting you. There's many types of domestic violence. There can be emotional abuse, there can be verbal abuse, there can be immigration abuse, there can be financial abuse. All sorts of issues can be happening that make it, a very toxic, abusive relationship, and all of that is considered domestic violence. Hello, Nirvana, okay. And Mad, I think that this is Alessandra. How are you? So anyway, you can be going through a lot of things that can be considered domestic violence and not necessarily only physical violence, okay? There was only one incident in my entire 10 years with this person in which he hit a phone that I was holding in my hand, and he did hit my hand. I defended myself. I'm not, I have two hands too. So I did defend myself, and then he promptly accused me of hitting him, and I said, well, guess what? You hit me first, and I was defending myself. And he was going to call the police, and I said, please do, by all means, call the police and tell them so that I can teach them about what a reactive victim is, okay? And so needless to say, he never did call the police. But it happens when you're in a relationship where the violence escalates, that they will in fact accuse you instead of domestic violence. So just something to watch out for. But anyway, let's go back to the beginning of relationship, and let's go back to why I'm telling you all of this about the domestic violence. I knew hands down that I was in an abusive relationship even before I married him. And of course, hope springs eternal. So you think that, no, we're going to get married, everything is going to be better, we're just adjusting to each other, but it's going to be great. It's a fairy tale romance. And it was. And no, that they never change, okay? but the victim always thinks that they will. And so you continue to forgive, you continue to try to forget, you continue to be in the relationship, forever hoping that there will be a change, and there never will be. So having said that, if I knew that I was in that kind of relationship, what happened for 10 years? For 10 years, I tried to figure out this man, trying to figure out why was he the way he was. And I was talking to all his family, I was talking to his friends. The good thing, and one of the things that saved me, was that I am not a wallflower. I am not a person to keep their mouth shut, and hence I'm an attorney. So I think it saved me because pretty much everybody around me knew what kind of relationship I was in from pretty much the get-go, okay? They respected my timing. They respected that I wanted to continue being in this relationship. They did not lose me because of that, but they all knew, pretty much everybody knew. And so it was not like a huge surprise to those who were very, very close to me and even close to him that this was happening. But nobody ever trains you. So I had all this training in domestic violence, and nobody ever trained me, even though I had training on personality disorders, and I had training on mental illness. I was never told what it looked like to find somebody like what I found, to find somebody like him. So this is what I want to do today, is to kind of give you an idea of what it looks like at the beginning of your relationship with an integrated psychopath. Why are they called integrated or covert psychopaths? Because you cannot tell, at first sight. It's not like, when you think of a psychopath, you think of Hannibal Lecter. You think of somebody who's in jail because they're a psychopath or they're a sociopath, which are different things. And I did a live on what the differences are, so please watch that. But nobody ever trains you on what they look like. Nobody tells you that they are, in fact, all around you. There's at least between 4 to 6% of the human population has an antisocial personality disorder with psychopathic traits. They will have, on average, 60 victims per lifetime, right? So if you have not been a victim of a psychopath, I can assure you, you know somebody who is, and this information might be very helpful in you being able to help them to get out of that relationship. So by all means, share our channel with those who need it. Share the information, listen to the information, learn as much as you can, because they're not only in relationships that are romantic, they're also parents, they're also your bosses, your co-workers. And so you need to be informed that those people are out there. And what are they doing? What do they look like? Well, they look like normal people, and in fact, they look even better than normal people. They're extremely charming people. They often climb to very high positions in society. So they can be musicians, they can be attorneys, they can be actors, they can be presidents. There's been some of them who have reached the presidency. And I'm not naming names, but I know that we definitely had one in Venezuela, and I can assure you we had one here. They're very hard to diagnose because they are so good at fooling everybody that they can even fool psychologists and psychiatrists. Okay, so they're not easy to diagnose because they're very good at mimicking the behaviors and the things that they know they need to say in order to be accepted. Okay, they can even pass polygraph tests. So that right there should tell you how good they are. Okay, so when a person like this chooses you, because it is they who choose you as a victim, okay, there is really not much that you can do to get rid of it. If you're lucky, you don't like the person, like physically there's no attraction, and so you may not fall for everything else that they're going to do to you. But if you somewhat like the person, it's going to be very, very hard for you to get out of that relationship. It's like being a victim of rape. There's nothing you can do. If you're going to be raped, they're going to rape you, and it's not about what you're wearing. It's not about where you were. It's not about you were drunk or you were, no. It's a crime of violence. and it is all about the rapist, not about the victim. So imagine that you're walking in a in a street, but you're not walking on the street, you're walking on the sidewalk, and all of a sudden you are rammed by an 18-wheeler, more or less. That's what this is, okay? So what happens is that you meet this amazing, charming person. They lay eyes on you and they decide, I think this is my next victim, and you will be if they decide that you're it, right? They're extremely pleasant to talk to. They're like I said, extremely charming individuals. Usually they dress well, they look very nice, they speak the part, and they start to basically case you like you would case a bank before you rob it. Okay, so they start asking you questions, and but it all starts out very normally, very nice. But then the questions move on to topics that they want to investigate, right? They want to see, what kind of a person are you? What makes you tick? What makes you not tick? What kinds of desires do you have? What kinds of needs do you have? And it can be that you have something from your childhood. You didn't feel loved, you didn't feel beautiful, you didn't feel whatever it was, right? You didn't feel intelligent, whatever it is that you are carrying from childhood. They're very, very, very good at determining where those holes are in your soul, and they will get in through precisely those holes. So if you didn't feel beautiful, wow, you are so incredibly gorgeous. I've never met a woman as gorgeous as you are. If you don't feel intelligent, all of a sudden you're going to feel intelligent, because they will tell you, wow, that is so clever, that is so smart. So you start feeling like somebody is filling those empty pockets that you have in your soul. And it will not be in one conversation. They will continue to talk to you. So it's not absolutely obvious that they're doing this. It's a very, very slow operation. Okay, slow in the sense that they will take some days to do it, but they will be very persistent. Okay, so there will be phone calls, there will be texts. You will be made to feel so special. You've never felt this special in your life. And they will quickly determine, okay, what is it that she needs? I'm going to fill those needs. Or what is it that he needs? And I'm going to fill those needs. Okay. And like I said, they're extremely good at being a chameleon, right? So they will mimic whatever it is that you need, and all of a sudden they're it. So then they start a process of what I call soulmateization, right? They become your soulmates. How do they do that? Whatever you say that you like, oh, I like, I've always been intrigued by Apollo 13 and it's my favorite movie. Oh my God, all of a sudden they're astronauts, right? Oh, I applied to NASA, but they rejected me. But all my life I wanted to be an astronaut because I was a child when they went to the moon, and I was always inspired by that. That's why I became an engineer. Whatever it is that you're intrigued by, they will do. Oh, I like soccer, it's the World Soccer Cup, and so I'm watching oh my God, I never miss a game. This is incredible. They will even do research and tell you, remember that time when Argentina won Germany, whatever it is that they need to do to make you feel like, wow, this is truly my soulmate. I think I have found the person that I was looking for. Okay, so now they have led you to believe that that everything you wanted in a person, they are. They studied what needs you had so they can fill it, and they start the process of love bombing. So what is love bombing? And it's interesting because if you ask teenagers, they know it. But if you ask women my age or men my age, they have no idea what you're talking about. So, and they should be teaching this in high school as far as I'm concerned. So love bombing is the process by which the narcissist or the psychopath, there are two different things, but they both use pretty much the same techniques. They will get into your life and make themselves so desired and so needed that you will never be the same person that you were before. So they will fill your house with flowers. They will send you balloons. They will send you music, not like, I mean, in a regular relationship, as you're starting to get to know somebody, you may ask them, what is your favorite kind of music? And, and if they tell you, oh, I really like whatever, pop rock, then you send them, oh, this is my favorite song. And that is normal, but what is not, hola Ruben, how are you? But what is not normal is to be absolutely bombarded on every single minute of the day, right? By so much interest, so much love that you can barely stand it. I mean, it's like you've never been so admired, you've never been so desired. This person is sending you, is giving you so much attention, and it's constantly wanting to also talk to you. You want to talk to the person because, again, that person knows already how to fill your needs and how to fill your empty pockets, right? And so you also want to talk to that person. I remember feeling like my life had no meaning when I was not talking to him, right? Especially in the beginning of the relationship. I felt like I was 17 again. I didn't have butterflies in my stomach as much as I had pterodactyls. And so it was a feeling of absolute elatedness, like I never want to feel again. I don't think I ever will, because if I'm good, I'm never going to fall for somebody like that again. It's okay to feel elated. It's okay to feel happy. But the feeling that you get when you're with a person like this is just this feeling of being overwhelmed, absolutely overwhelmed by a happiness and an ecstasy that you cannot explain it to somebody who has never gone through it. So anyway, so they will do that to you. Hola Alicia, how are you? The psychopath or the narcissist will very, very quickly, especially the psychopath, will very, very quickly insert himself in your life, and tell you that you are his soulmate, that you are the person that they were always looking for, that they want to marry you, that they want to move in with you. So it's a very, very quick turnaround from having the beginning of what seems like a love relationship into I'm moving in, okay? Why? Because they need to be able to, because otherwise you're going to find them out, right? And so they quickly move. I think I was asked to marry this man within probably 10 days of having, told him that, yes, I think that I want this relationship with you. And within 10 days, he had asked me to marry him. And I said no. But then I realized in my particular case, I needed to marry him because of immigration issues. He was from another country and I needed him here. And so the only way that I was going to be able to have him here was to marry him. Okay? So I did. But anyway, but it was a very, very quick-paced relationship. Extremely intense, the most intense relationship you are ever going to have in your life. So what happens is that when they do that, when they do the love bombing, they make your body release with the love bombing. What they do is that they release a substance in your body that is called phenylethylamine, right? And phenylethylamine is a neurotransmitter that is akin to methamphetamine, right? So it's a cousin of meth, and as you all know, meth is extremely, extremely addictive, okay? So you get addicted to that high of being with the person, of talking to the person, of having that person constantly in your ears, right? And once you get addicted to that, then the psychopath starts exploring what are your limits? How much can I push them, right? So they will do things like disappear for a day, right? That you won't hear from them. And all of a sudden you're literally climbing the walls because you don't know where they are and you need that substance in your life, right? And so you start thinking, oh my God, I can't, this is ridiculous. Why am I so addicted to this person? And the answer is the addiction is real. You are addicted not to the person, but to the person that makes you release the substance in your body that you're addicted to, okay? So what happens is that they start testing you. So they go out for a day, they don't respond, and then all of a sudden, oh, my phone was disconnected, or I didn't realize that I hadn't paid it, I'm so sorry, or I was out of area, or I was I was in a meeting and then I fell asleep, or sorry. And even if they answer you, sometimes they will tell you things like, I can't talk right now, let's talk tonight, and then tonight, you don't talk to them, and then the next morning they're like, I'm so sorry, I fell asleep, I was beat, so there's always a period of time in which you don't hear from them and you're literally dying. They will do that test to see what happens, to see how addicted you are to them already, and they will continue with the love bombing. And all of a sudden they will say something nasty that you were totally out of left field, you were not expecting that, and depending on how you react, they know that, okay, this is the threshold, I can't tell her that, because then she really is going to leave me, or maybe I can't because she just forgave me and I asked forgiveness and she said yes, that's fine, but just don't do it again. They will do it again. Okay. So they will start doing things. Will they do horrible things like hang you from a foot, or chop you up in pieces? No. That is not the type of torture that a psychopath will expose you to. It's more covert. It's more small things. Like I can't believe that how smart how smart you are telling me this, or you cannot do this right, or you simply cannot get it when I tell you that blah blah blah. Okay, so it's small things that if you say it once, it shouldn't affect anybody. The issue is that they say it several times a day during the entirety of your relationship, right? So it starts to wear you down. There's also other tactics that they will use. In my case, every time he got up to go to the bathroom, at night, he came in and did something that seemed apparently, extremely romantic. And why would anybody mind that, right? Until finally, when I started studying, this type of relationships, I realized, so that's what he was doing. So he would come into the bed and hug me and say, do you know that I love you? Do you know that you're beautiful? Do you know that you're everything in my life? And I was sleeping, right? So he's disturbing my sleep, which is okay, because if I can go back to sleep, that's fine. But when they do that several times per night, it's like when you're having a baby. If for those of you who ever had a baby, you know that feeling of brain fog because you haven't slept all night. That's exactly the same feeling that you start having when you live with a psychopath, because they will make sure that you don't sleep, okay? Because it wears you down. And the more your defenses are worn, the more that they can abuse without having any consequences, okay? So that is one of the things that they do. They will also slowly triangulate you. In my case, I never fell for it until it was, until the very, very end, after we had already been separated. And that's when he told me about Gloria. That's when he told me about Sandra in Miami. The three of us founded Genesis. And I never fell for it, because he used to tell me about all his exes and how much they loved him and this and the other. And because, hola Elaine, how are you? And because I was never a jealous person, I never understood that that's what he was doing. And he used to even call his exes and put me on the phone, not all of them, because some of them cannot stand a man. Now I know why. But some of them are still friends with him, and he used to put him on the phone. Hey, here, come talk to my ex-girlfriend. And I was glad to meet, the exes, because like I said, I'm not a jealous person. But if you are, that's exactly what they're going to use. They ain't good. That's exactly what they're going to use to raise their value, because that's what triangulation is. It's when they tell you about this other person that was or is or might be interested in them, right? In order for you to reactivate that addiction and to realize that, oh, wow, I really better do whatever it takes to keep him, because otherwise there's this other person in line. He used to tell me quite often that I do have a plan B and a plan C already. Whenever I step out of this relationship, within 5 minutes, I'm going to have another one. And I always felt like there was this sort of doubtfulness, hanging on my head. in this relationship, because I knew that it was a matter of time, and it was a matter of 10 years, and it finally ended. Not thanks to him keeping the relationship alive, but thanks to me and to my perseverance, into my addiction to him, and not wanting to let go of what I thought was the love of my life. Mistakenly so, but that's what I thought, and that's what every victim thinks. The average victim leaves them about 7 times on average before they finally leave him. So I left him over 10 times. Some people may leave him 5 and leave. Some people may be the first time. Some people may be the 20th time, right? But on average is 7 times before you actually do leave them. So anyway, so what happens is that when they do something really nasty to you like that, right? They triangulated you, you felt jealous about somebody, or they insulted you, or they made you feel less than, or they coerced you into having sex when you were not ready for having sex, or you did not want to have the type of sex that they wanted, whatever it was, right, that they did to you, all of a sudden then there's going to be, sometimes within minutes, right, there's going to be another love bombing, right? There's going to be another, I'm so magnanimous, I'm going to forgive you because I really love you. I've never loved anybody the way I love you. And so I'm going to forgive you, for whatever your trespasses were, that I never understood what mine were, but anyway. And so they magnanimously forgive you, and they give you that shot of heroin that is their attention, right? And that is their love bombing again, right? So I'm going to dedicate this song to you. I'm going to hold you. I'm going to hug you. I'm going to kiss you. And you literally feel like life is coming back to you, right? I mean, you literally chemically feel that, wow, this is a breath of fresh air. And so every time that they do something, you feel like you're dying. You literally are dying, and you have this ball, what Gloria used to call the ball in my chest. And yeah, it's called cortisol. Is the hormone of stress, right? And it's a hormone that is supposed to be released in your body only on occasion when you really are going through a lot of stress and you need to lift a truck off of a child, or you need to run from somebody who's mugging you or something like that, right? That is what cortisol is there to do, is the stress hormone, and it's supposed to be in your body for only very brief periods of time. What happens when you're in a relationship with a psychopath is that cortisol lives with you and has, put up a tent in your body, and it's always there. Why? Because you're always in a fight. You always are you're always ready for a fight. So cortisol and adrenaline can destroy your body, can destroy your neurons, can destroy. So you do have psychological losses. You do have neurological losses, right? You start to get, like I said, brain fog, and you have no idea why. And the more you get it, the more they stress that, oh my God, you really are forgetful, or you really are going crazy. There's a lot of gaslighting. There's a lot of, I never said that, I never did that. Who told you that we were going, to this particular dinner? Who told you that we were going to this particular trip? And you already bought the tickets, or for the theater, or whatever, right? Because he said, oh, that would be lovely to do. Okay, so you buy the tickets to go see, Air Supply or whatever, right? And then he's like, I never said I wanted to go. I said that would be lovely to do, but I never said go ahead and buy them. So they trade in ambiguity and vagueness, so that once you start living with these people, you start figuring it out. And then in my case, I used to put him against the wall basically and say, no, I need to know what time you want me in the car. It cannot be, in time for us to leave so that we're not late. No, that's not going to work anymore. You need to tell me what time you want me in the car, and that's when I'm going to be in the car. And by God, I was in the car. But not every victim can do that. Not every victim can determine those subtleties. I knew that I had to do that for survival, but I didn't know what it was called. I didn't know that the vagueness was one of their tactics. I did not know what gaslighting was if it hit me in the face. I just knew that he was volatile, and sometimes he told me yes, and then he said he never told me that, and I thought, I must be going crazy. He is right. I'm the crazy one, you know. And so whenever they use those tactics, they start to create what is called post-traumatic stress disorder, and you must have heard about that in relationship to people who go to wars, right? So the soldiers who came back from Vietnam, from the Iraq war, they all have, oh hi Liz, how are you? They all have post-traumatic stress disorder, right? And it is something that can only be cured with a particular type of therapy that is based on EMDR, on rapid eye movements, right? And so I'm not going to explain to you what EMDR is because I'm not a psychologist, but I can tell you that I went through that kind of therapy, one that was called therapy of cerebral integration, and it did have to do with closing my eyes, repeating things, whatever, and I was functional within 4 therapies, right? So it could have been a lifetime of psychotherapy, which does not work with this type of victim, will not work with a type of war-torn veteran, and so that's why we have specific therapies that can address the PTSD that you end up with when you are in a relationship with a person like this, okay? So anyway, once they create the addiction to the phenylethylamine, they alternate perversely the 2 types of stimulant, right? So they give you the extremely good, that is right, relationship, hi Isabel, how are you? They give you the extremely good relationship that you have, the extremely good portions of the relationship that you actually love to have, right, in your life and need to have in your life. And then they give you something extremely bad, right? So you always feel like, what just happened? You know, I thought that I was the Queen of Saba, you know, just 2 minutes ago, and now you're taking my crown away, and you're taking my scepter away, and you're taking my high heels, and you're making me, you know, clean the floor with my tongue. I mean, basically that is how I felt every time that he did something like that. And that's precisely what they want. They want to create that the spirit in your brain, you know, that confusion in your brain, right? That is saying, wait a minute, I thought he loved me. And then there's this other part of you that says, of course he loves you. He's told you so many times he loves you. You've seen it, you've felt it. You know he loves you. He tells everybody he loves you. He tells everybody about the fairy tale story. Oh, that's another thing. So if you do happen to have a beautiful story, and most people who are in a relationship like this have a beautiful story to tell, because it's like a total fairy tale. In my case, I met him when I was 8 and we were in 3rd grade. You know, and then we met up again when I was in my 43rd birthday, and you know, and it was nothing short of magical, right? Because that's exactly what it feels like. It feels like you are in a magical relationship, right? Which pretty much most relationships feel like magic at the beginning, but this feels magic all the time, even after 10 years. It was the hardest thing that I've ever done, was to leave this person, because I left him while I still loved him crazily, right? With a passion. And so, you know, it's always there. And it's always there because the addiction to the phenylethylamine is there. And because they alternate it with the good and the bad, then they continue to feed the addiction that you have to them, right? The addiction that you have to the substance that you produce when you're with them. And it's good, right? Because when it's good, it's amazing. When it's bad, it's horrendous, right? But to the outside world, it's very hard to see. Unless you are a person like me, who's very outspoken and would show him up, you know, whatever we were, I would tell him, you know, this is ridiculous. I'm leaving him, you know, I'm leaving you because you have already drunk so much. He had also the combined addiction of alcoholism. And so whenever he drank, you know, at his 3rd scotch, I used to literally just up and leave. I would take the car keys and I would leave. And I was not a closet anymore, you know, at some point in my relationship. Everybody knew that I called him out whenever he was drinking more than 3, because after 3, I knew that it was going to become abusive, and so I would rather leave him where he was and just leave. But not every victim is like that. And so many victims, and I did it at the very beginning of my relationship too. Many victims will hide it. Many victims will become codependents because they will move heaven and earth so that this person can never be upset at them. Okay, so it's really something that you are not yourself anymore because you're doing things you never thought you would be doing in your life, right? You're covering up for them. If people tell you, why is he not? Why are we canceling dinner? Oh, we're canceling dinner because I have a splitting headache, or because he had to go play someplace, or he had to whatever, but you never will tell them, well, it's because we had a blown out fight, right? And so people who are on the outside, not on the inner, part of the relationship, because everybody in my inner circle knew, but the people who were on the outer circles of my relationship were absolutely blown away when I left him, when I asked for a divorce, because they all thought this was the fairy tale romance. Oh, what I was telling you about the fairy tale romance is that they will often tell you to repeat the story, right? In my case, whenever he was playing, he's a performer, he's a musician and a singer, a very good musician. I mean, you have to recognize the things that are true. An excellent musician, and whenever he was playing someplace, right, and he started to make friends, because they're very good at making a gazillion friends a day, right? Nobody is as sociable as they are. And so whenever he was playing and, and I was there, then he would say, oh, this is my beautiful wife, Natalie, blah, blah, blah. And he would introduce me. And then he would always tell me, and I never understood it until now. He would always tell me, tell them the story, Natalie. Tell them the story of how we met and how we became a couple. And so that even at times when we had just had a recent argument, and I was just there to pick him up because I knew that he was going to drink, and so, he didn't take his car and I took him, whatever, right? I mean, whatever reason I was there for, he would always tell them the story. Because by telling them the story, I was feeding myself the lie that this was a fairy tale romance. I was internalizing once again that this was the love of my life, right? And so I would tell him the story, and then, and then he would hug me and kiss me, and, he would be very overtly affectionate towards me in front of everybody. And people really bought the fairy tale. So when we got divorced, I had a lot of people who contacted me and said, are you kidding me? You're leaving this man who used to make you breakfast every day, and this man who used to bring you flowers every week, and this man who used to dedicate songs and sing you songs and even write songs for you, because they couldn't believe that I was going to leave somebody that wonderful. And that's because, well, you never lived with him, right? You never lived with him when he screamed at me because I had probably, brushed my hair and there was a hair in the sink, and I was called all sorts of names because there was a hair in the sink, right? You didn't live with him when he screamed at my daughter. You didn't live with him when I would park the car and see that, oh my God, the car is 1 millimeter to the side that he doesn't want it to be. Let me move it again, because there will be hell to pay if I leave it like that tomorrow. And I would get in the car, park it again, and then I would get in, and he would say something like, oh, so you just simply don't know how to drive. You really will never learn how to park, will you, Natalie? Because I heard you pulled out the cards. You got out of the car, you saw that you parked it wrong, and you went back and you did it again, didn't you? Because you just will never learn. And so people were not there for that type of abuse, right? People were not there for the, you can't eat cereal if I'm eating empanadas, because then you're not sharing breakfast with me. You're not eating the same things that I'm eating, therefore you're not sharing. Therefore I put on 50 pounds, literally 50 pounds, when I was with him, because I had to eat what he was eating. If I got up at 10, after, being in bed with him, until 10 in the morning, he would tell me, wow, there's no love anymore. I can tell you just don't love me. Because at the beginning, and mind you, this happened maybe like 2 months after the marriage. And he said something like that. At the beginning, you used to lie here and I could make love to you in the morning, but now you're just leaving the bed at 10 a.m., and so obviously you don't love me anymore. Okay. So then I would have to stay until whatever time he decided to get up, right? Elaine is saying, I was one of the many that bought the fairy tale. Yeah, I know. You were, because you were not in the inner circle. Now you are, but you were not in the inner circle. And so was Isabel, probably, because Isabel was also in my outer, circle. And so anyway, so he would say something, things like that. And so then if I stayed in bed, and then he would get up like really quickly and say, well, I have to have breakfast. I cannot not have breakfast. And so then I would have to like rush out and cook breakfast. And then it was never what he wanted. It was like, I didn't want bacon today. Oh my God, why'd you make bacon? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'll give you sausage tomorrow. So tomorrow you make sausage. And he's like, no, sausage was yesterday. Today I want bacon. So I stopped making breakfast altogether. I said, I'm so sorry. It will never be enough. And that became the motto of my relationship with him. It was always, it will never be enough, no matter what I did. And those who know me know that I did above and beyond what I should have done for this man. I was the one working. He played once a week, and made $300, if at all. And I was the one who was upkeeping. I was the one who bought the house. I was the one who was paying for it. I was the one who was paying. He had 2 Mercedes-Benz while he was with me. And so they know how much I put into this relationship, and they know that there's absolutely nothing that I could have done better in this relationship to keep the relationship going and to not be abused by this man. Elaine says, so happy to be in your inner circle. You are an amazing person, and it is inspirational how you're using your... Thank you, Elaine. Thank you so much. I'm glad you are in my inner circle too. It's an honor for me to have you in it. So it really, no matter, and we hear it. We have a support group via WhatsApp. If you are interested in joining the support group, let me know. I'll be happy to put you in. So it became, I hear it a lot from victims. What became my motto of it will never be enough is the motto of many other victims. They also don't know that they're not alone. They also don't know that they're not crazy. They also don't know that the cognitive dissonance is real, that the addiction is real. These people have a modus operandi that is exactly the same. It's uncanny. When you see a movie about, for instance, you see the Tinder swindler, right? That it's a movie about a psychopath. And you go, oh my God, but that was my husband, or that was my wife, right? So whenever you see them or you hear about other victims and what they went through, and you go, yeah, mine used to do exactly the same thing. Mine used to do exactly the same thing. Yes, because it is a strategy. It's not like they study it. There's no colleges, how to become a psychopath in 45 days. There's no classes. But I doubt that they will be successful anyway. But what is true is that they lack the same brain structures. They lack an amygdala, or they have one that is very tiny, or they have one that is not connected to the neurocortex. They also don't have the risk assessment portion of the brain. The psychopath, you have to understand, and this was the hardest thing for me to understand, having been married to him for 10 years, having felt that I never loved, still do, never loved anybody the way I love this man. Not that I love him now, obviously, but I recognize that I have never loved anybody the way I love that man. And I probably never will, because if I do, it's because I'm in love with a psychopath again. So no, that's a no on that. So anyway, once that you go through this experience in life, you feel that you have never been so loved in your life. And so for somebody to come and tell you, well, he never really loved you, you're not going to believe it at first. And it's going to be a really, really tough pill to swallow, right? When they tell you, no, he just really never loved you. You have to get it. She never loved you. If you're a male going through the same thing. We recently interviewed a guy from Spain who has written a book about it, about his experience with a female psychopath. They come in all different flavors. And what is really tough to understand is that no, they really didn't love you, because you really feel so loved. But remember that what they're doing is that first of all, they're wearing the mask that you put on them. They're wearing the mask of the perfect, remember your soulmate? So you drew that mask for them. You put it on them. And all they do is wear it. Every once in a while, it falls off their faces. They show who they truly are. And you're like, no, this is unusual. The real him is the mask, right? But in reality, yeah, the real him is when the mask falls off. That is what you're seeing is the real person that they are. And no, they don't love you. The only feeling that psychopaths are capable of feeling is something called, Germans have a name for it, we don't. Spanish doesn't have it either. It's called Schadenfreude. And it's the joy of harming others, the joy of making others feel sad or feel defeated, right? And so that is the only joy they ever feel in their lives. That is why they want to be with people who are high achievers, who are smart, who are very empathetic. They need the empathy, because if you're not empathetic, you're not going to forgive them time and time and time again. And they need a person who is going to be relentless in their forgiving of the psychopath. So they look for the same kind of victim, right? And once they find it, jackpot. This is a person that I'm going to be leeching for the next 10 years, or this is a person that I'm going to be getting all my narcissistic supply from for the next 20 years, or whatever it is that they're going to be with you. So it's that's just to give you an idea. And when somebody first finally tells you he never loved you, you're like, no, of course he loved me, because he did all this and he did all that and he brought me flowers. How can he not love me? When he told me, he wrote me love songs, it didn't sing them for me, he wrote them for me. And how can he not have loved me, right? But then you look at his actions, then you look at the things that he said to me that were not nice, the things that he did to me that were not nice, the triangulation, the times that he attempted, and thankfully was never successful, but he did attempt to be unfaithful to me, at least on 2 or 3 occasions, right? That he didn't succeed is more of a testament to the women that he was attempting it with, because they were my friends, and less of a, he just wasn't good at it. He was very good at it, but it was the women who said no to him. So, and all of that starts breaking you as a person. And so finally, what happens at the end of your life with a narcissistic abuser or with a psychopath abuser is that they start to do what is called the discarding phase of the relationship, right? So they will discard you, and they will basically throw you to the curb like so much garbage, unless you do it first, right? And when you do it first, then they come back. They always come back. And in Spanish, we have done lives about the comeback of the narcissist or the comeback of the psychopath, because they always do. They will come back. And why do they come back? Because it's easier to get their fuel from you, their narcissistic fuel from you, because you've given it to them before, so they know it's there, than it is to get a new victim, right? Or they come back, and that is what happened to me. They come back, since I was the one who discarded him. I was the one who said, I need a divorce, you do need to go, right? And because I don't want you in my life anymore. Then he came back, 4 months later. I did not know that he was a psychopath at that time. I had not studied this yet. He came back, and so the reason they come back is because they need to be the one discarding you. They need to be the one saying, oh, she begged me to come back. I never did, right? But I did tell him, I need to know that you still love me. It's the one Christmas gift that I want you to give me. He was incapable of saying it, because he wanted to be able to say, she still loves me, I don't love her anymore. They want to see you destroyed. He came back, he triangulated me. one day we'll do the whole story in English. We have it in Spanish already, and it's an incredible story. But he did come back, and what they want to do, and when they come back, that's what they want to do. They want to destroy you, and they want to then say, see, it's okay that I left her because she just wasn't worth it, or he wasn't worth it. Look at how destroyed they are. You know, they're a rag. They're a total rag. They're a punching bag. And that is not the person that I marry. That is not the person that I want to ever be with. They're not worth my time, right? And so that's why the narcissistic abuser always comes back. Because even if you were the one who discarded him or her, they need to be able to come back and say, and now I discarded you, and I see that you were not really worth my time, right? So anyway, so that is what goes on. Iñaki Piñuel, a Spanish psychologist, and who talks about the covert psychopath, or the integrated psychopath as he calls them, says that that the victims are beings of light, in that a narcissistic relationship or a psychopathic relationship is like having a hurricane force 5 in your life, that you're entirely destroyed. Bring the floor plans, start building your house again from the beginning, because there's nothing that you can salvage from you after you've been through this. And in many respects, he is right. The only thing that remains, if you end up, many victims do end up killing themselves, unfortunately. But those who survive, what I have seen is that they have a level of resiliency that is truly incredible, you know. And it's because they were beings of light to begin with. The light is still within them. The love is still within them. They will be able to have a life again after this happens, if they know how to manage their healing process, right? They have to allow themselves to cry, to realize what happened, to internalize what happened, to accept what has happened, right? And then to slowly heal. It cannot be that they are going through this and then all of a sudden they're into a new relationship, because guess what? A new narcissistic abuser is going to come into your life. You haven't learned a lesson. So you will always be open to that type of relationship unless you really, really, really work at it, right? So what we see is that a lot of times the victims will take it upon themselves to do basically what I'm doing. Let's save other people. Let's rescue others. Let's make sure that people are aware that this goes on so that it doesn't happen, because it is a devastating, absolutely devastating experience to go through something like this. And so you just don't want it to happen to another person ever again. You don't want him or her to have other victims, so you do everything you can. That's why I contacted Gloria, that's why I contacted Sandra, because they had to be aware of what he was, and I didn't want him to do it to anybody else. I haven't, checked his social media since I don't know how many years, 2-3 years ago, but so I'm not in the game of saving any one of his victims anymore. I hope he never has another victim in his life, but I'm not in that game anymore. I'm in the game of saving more than just his victims. I'm in the game of saving victims of many other psychopaths, and that's why Genesis is here. So I want to invite you all to follow us on Instagram. Like, if you're watching this, you're probably following us on Instagram. If you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, I urge you to subscribe also to our channel. If you go on Genesis in Instagram, it tells you what our YouTube channel is. There's a link on our bio, so you can just click on the link and subscribe. It's free, and every single live that we do, it's hung in there. We haven't hung the previous years yet because we just opened the channel, and we do have a support group on WhatsApp for victims, both male and female, of both narcissistic abusers and psychopathic abusers. So if you need help, just supporting you, just with people that have gone through it, who will not judge you, who will guide you, who will say, hey, this worked for me. I don't know if it's going to work for you, but this actually worked for me. People who are going to keep you on your track, who are going to say, no, do not respond. You need to put him in zero contact, or you need to put her in zero contact. People who have lived it, because it's very, very tough to talk to people who have not lived it, because there's a tendency of saying, oh, but it's been 6 months, you should have gotten over it already. And they don't understand that, no, this was a Hurricane 6, I'm still rebuilding my house. And it's not like I could put new blinds in it and call it a day, or close a door that flew out. It's not the door, the entire freaking house flew out, right? And so you're building a new house. But the good news is that the new house that you're building is going to be so much better than the previous house that you had, that you're not even going to recognize yourself after you come out of this relationship and you start anew. So there's always hope, and we are here to help you do that. So thank you all for showing up today. Hola, ¿cómo estás? La mejor que se apareció. And so anyway, follow us, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure that you share this information with people that you think would be interested in hearing it. You never know. We have had emails and private messages telling us, thank you for doing this, because you allowed me to save my cousin, my sister, my whatever, who had been in an abusive relationship for the past 30 years, 20 years, whatever many. And that's why we are here. That's why we keep doing it. Okay? So anyway, thank you all for coming, and we will see you next Friday. Take care. Bye-bye. Have a good weekend.